if you wanted to quickly just kind of touch on that, the Pavel Datsu, I don't want to butcher his name. It's a Russian name, but if you want to touch on kind of his story, it's an interesting one. It's one of the ones that I didn't know about, and I feel like every day there's another interesting, cool story about how a certain athlete or certain performer kind of organically arrived at their skill. If you want to go ahead quickly touch on that, it's an interesting story.
There was a paper written by Mark O'Sullivan, he's like one of my favorite researchers out right now. But Pavel Datsyuk was born in USSR, and growing up he just didn't have that much money. Would also play a lot of pond hockey, but he would play without skates, so he played with socks on the pond, which taught him how to be super agile and move novel ways, I guess you could say, on the ice in comparison to maybe a Canadian skater or an American skater. And then also, as I said earlier, right, he had one stick. And so that's where the stick part and kind of what you were talking about, Ben, I think, goes to how motivation can be a big factor in learning these skills as well, right? So Pavel had one stick, so he had no other choice but to protect his stick. Telling another kid, hey, protect your stick because you don't want it to break. It's just not going to hit the same way as someone that literally has one stick and can only use that one stick. In the same way that you had a broken foot, you didn't have any other options, right? And so that really incentivizes you to learn in a different way than the person that we're just saying, oh, hey, like this is what one of the best players did, or this is what someone else did, just do it. Like that's not sufficient. I think diving into that extra layer is really important for athletes and understanding their motivations for what they're doing, the way that they see the game. But then also when we think of it, taking a step back as like a coach, right? Like I'm from California, for example. When I was in high school, we like bunt and hit and run. I saw baseball like that for a really long time, and it took a while to destabilize it because that's how I learned it. I think skills are the same way, and the way that we think about skills are the same way, where if someone grows up learning a certain way, we have to destabilize it with real consequences and real constraints, not just, hey, go do it. That's just not sufficient.
I know Jason and I certainly couldn't have. I was like, we can go for hours just talking about not only like specific examples of these of athletes that are name brand that we all know using techniques like that. Again, like intuitively, they didn't open up a research database and look up articles on motor learning, but they just intuitively arrived at these things because it makes sense. It's just like it's the classic like old wine in new bottles, where it's like, yeah, sure, if it's good wine, it's good wine, and if we need to put it in new bottles to get people to drink it, then we'll do it. And the classic, like when you learn basketball, when you're, I don't know how old you are, when you teach kids how to play basketball and they don't dribble with their off hand, you don't yell at them to dribble with their other hand. Like, and everyone's probably done it. You put your other hand behind your back and you go dribble. Now, is that like a perfect representative way to learn? No, but it's an example of an easy low-hanging constraint that you can use to force them to use a different option instead of just yelling at them, hey, use your other hand, dribble with the other hand until you're blue in the face. And it's just like, this stuff has been around forever. It's been effective forever. Everyone's acknowledged how effective it's been. And it's just facilitating more people to do it on purpose.